Malaysia, home to untouched waters, rainforests and wetlands, has turned into a popular destination for plastic waste.
We are not dumping ground, and no one should.
For decades, this was going to China. But when Beijing decided to close its doors to toxic waste, it started piling up here.
Malaysia is a very ideal place. Law and regulation that is easy to overcome. Smuggling can be very active here.
Illegal recycling factories are mushrooming, burning and dumping anything that can't be processed.
It's ruined our health.
It also ruins the air, the soil and the water, and even affects the food chain. Some people are fighting back.
Those Chinese mafia is trying to threaten us. The reason is because of big money.
And their fight goes way beyond their country's borders.
It's a global broken system. We cannot rely on one or two countries to solve it alone.
A system that sees developed countries sending their garbage overseas without regulation or accountability.
End of 2017, my communities start finding we are encounter bad air quality. A lot of people being wake up at night time, and the air just looks so hazy always. People felt sick.
Pua never thought she'd ever be deprived of the right to breathe properly.
I get some information that some people is doing some boiling plastics activity, so I was curious.
As the smoke and the smell became unbearable, she decided to sneak into the factories that had recently appeared in and around her town, less than 50 kilometers away from the main city, Kuala Lumpur.
First of all, I saw a lot of plastic in the jumbo bag in the factory.
To her surprise, she found most of the plastic came from overseas, and some was being burned.
I found that the chimney come out some fumes, which the smell just terrible. And I know that this is so-called melting plastic. It's one of the very important process to recycle plastics. And this smell, I can feel this is make me feel uncomfortable immediately. I'm a chemical engineer, so this smell actually is, is quite, familiar to me.
As her neighborhood transformed into a giant garbage dump, she decided to gather evidence against these factories.
I started to send a report to the authority, and gradually after 1 month we found another 5, another 7, so 3 months later it's total up to 17 already. And then another 2 months later it's up to more than 30. During the process we sent about 100 letters to the concerned parties to call for help.
Despite intimidation and even death threats,
2 guys sprayed red paint to my house. We received some warning saying that, oh, you must be careful, you must think about your family, you are cutting people's business.
She took her fight to social media. It was more than a year before the government started to crack down on these rogue recyclers and their international suppliers. But once it did, Pua realized the battle she thought she'd won had only just begun. Around 100 factories have the right to import and recycle plastic waste in Malaysia.
Some used plastic can be recycled, and it can be recycled in an environmental friendly manner, and we have the regulations for it.
Malaysia still have insufficient system to monitor the air pollution from this factory.
But hundreds more are believed to be operating illegally. Many have relocated from China after being put out of business there at the end of 2017. After melting down used plastic into pellets, they get rid of the waste they can't process in any way they can. A lucrative business worth billions of dollars, but one that's neither clean nor transparent.
Malaysian government also admitted that smuggling and corruptions might happen.
We managed to get rare access inside one of these factories. Trucks coming from Malaysia's biggest harbour, which is just a few kilometres away, are bringing piles of plastic waste from all over the world.
Looks like they're from Japan. Very clearly Japanese writings here.
Tons of plastic waiting to be shredded. There was only limited activity as we drove through this facility in broad daylight. So to find out what's going on inside these factories under the cover of night, we had to convince a former worker to talk to us.
Memang susah, bukan senang, memang susah. Dia memang nombor satu panas, nombor dua bau, nombor tiga itu air tarik, itu plastik, itu pun panas juga. Ada abu maya. Dia punya bau lain macam rasa macam mabu-mabu macam tu tau gak. Dalam masuk pun lepas 1-2 hari tak ada kerja macam angin keluar pun rasa macam itu plastik punya bau lagi tau macam tu.
Unbearable heat, toxic smell, and no safety measures.
Baju pakai biasa punya lah, kita punya lah. Sarung tangan kadang-kadang pakai, kadang-kadang tak pakai macam tu. Kadang-kadang dia bagi, kadang-kadang tak bagi. Itu saja. Bos tak ada bagi, memang tak ada bagi. Kita pakai slipper saja.
He and all the other workers there were illegal, which made it impossible for them to complain.
Kita pun manusia juga, bukan binatang. Kita mau cari makan, bukan mau jadi kaya. Orang ada kesihatan, ada jaga orang. Tak mau buat macam ini punya production lah. Itu saja.
Even though he badly needed the job, he decided to leave. Months later, he's still in pain.
Sampai sekarang pun jalan pun macam penat-penat, selalu kena demam, jalan rasa pun letih.
The northern part of the country is another hotspot for illegal recyclers. Toxic fumes are ruining Angtia's health there.
我查某囝是真正健康的囡仔咯，细汉到大汉伊无问题，了是2019年 start 起咯，3月一开始伊会鼻孔敏感，然后流鼻甲嗽咯，了到4月就烧了发烧。
Jean's daughter's condition got worse until she started to cough up blood.
4月時，第3週伊入樓嘅時，伊燒到40度，然後底下邊轉，你知哦？伊轉呀，我家己本轉，了伊轉甲安怎哦？你着去攬掉伊啊！因為人驚講伊去打熱蝦米哦，所以攬掉伊嗰時我就。 哇，心痛咯，真正心痛。
After leaving hospital, the 6-year-old girl was confined to her house for months.
伊肺部有些点点的物件，就讲伊是因为空气的问题导致伊款咯，就讲伊是 bronchitis 咯。doctor 有甲我讲啊 ，doctor 面是叫我搬厝啊，伊讲都是因为养烧这物件，所以伊安尼款咯。
Untia is just one of many around here who've been affected.
我的 father 在我隔壁位咯，伊本是有肺的问题，有迄肺感染的问题，本了是有扫袂好阮。然后我的邻居，我隔壁厝边阮伊有囡仔，阮是因为这肺甲扫问题，阮入老阮咯，入个 ICU 阮。所以你食掉这抗敏感咯，那甲食。我有去迄个环保的位，啥迄个环境部长位，我有去 Messenger 位写互人，我有甲人讲饲啊遐个问题啦。了我囡仔的批，我有 send 互人，是讲伊人无回复我。我有甲人讲啊遐问题，讲即个 N 到底是个怎来，啥物事会啊遐问题咯，啥物事环境会来款。可是伊人无回复着我，无回复我，也有看到在哦，因为咱会知嘛。你看，丢到我囡仔安尼款了啊！你讲我虾物心？你讲我安怎？对，也是讲丢伫人身顶呢，签伫人身顶呢，人在听。
2 years ago, before all these things started, we will wake up at 5, go cycling for an hour or so near the paddy fields, and then go to work. It's like heaven. But it so happened that where we cycle was near the recycling.
In the centre of town, Dr. Tiao has been running this clinic for the last 3 decades.
We noticed around about May 2019, there was more cases of respiratory problems. People who had asthma had more frequent attacks. So there was maybe a 15-20% increase in the number of cases. I myself, in the evenings, the eyes will get very dry and uncomfortable, and have a bit of stuffy nose and coughing. Initially, we don't know what was the cause, but when we asked around, we realized that it was from those factories because they operated at night.
With his team, he created a device to measure air pollution and monitor its impact on people's health. And they found out that when the index was going up, the number of heart attacks and strokes were increasing.
We also realized that the burning of plastic will release volatile organic compounds, which constant exposure will bring out cancer of various kinds.
Long-term health damage and long-term damage to the environment. And that's Tan's main concern.
This dumping site is already operate here more than 2 years. Now they're starting to put a lot of fencing.
This business may have gone behind fences, but its consequences are still visible.
All those water is black color one. This one totally is a pollution. Okay, the pollution water. So they drop it into the drain. So this drain will go to the countryside. Got a lot of plantation and fishing farm.
2019这边的是海袂啥物袂饲的啦，因为水什么垃圾污染啊，若是一个种漏水满起来的时阵啊，伊水里啦就是歹了的，所以饲了袂迄种的，袂起啦，所以饲了袂起啦。下囝啊无够20天啊、30天，伊就死家己了咯。
When Kim identified the culprit, he nearly lost hope.
假是无看到啦，因为基本上是三个变有 plastic 啦，然后夹 plastic 来铁装的，来扣啊、装啊，安尼样。有啊，死我要拍人咯，你无拍人都袂饲咯，想要拍人了咯，规个猪要拍人，要卖人了，无人会食，价钱无人会食，就无变咯，家己做咯，家己搁去装的咯。
His prawns and his business eventually came back to life after the source of the deadly sludge was ordered to shut down. The fears and findings of doctors and residents have been confirmed by Greenpeace's latest report on plastic recycling in Malaysia. A team of scientists have collected and analysed soil and water samples around these dumping sites, and their results show significant contamination with hazardous chemicals, high concentration of heavy metals including cadmium and lead. Plastic dumped at unregulated sites poses a chemical threat to human health and the environment. The environmental organisation has asked the Malaysian government to protect its people.
Malaysian government have to rehabilitate the affected area and to provide the healthcare support to the affected residents.
Tan thinks Malaysian authorities too often turn a blind eye.
We keeping complaint, okay, they just receive our memorandum, either report, but they didn't do anything. So we need to do in ourselves.
So he decided to confront the unscrupulous owners directly.
They were damaged for our water supply. They were still the underground water, and then they will throw the water to the drain. So when they earn a lot of the money, those guys actually is from China. They will just go back to their hometown, then left a lot of rubbish for us. So I need to block them.
But they also tried to block him. The first warning came last year.
That day, the Chinese mafia of this Telagong is block our car, then take off our car key and warning us non-enter again Telagong this area.
But that didn't stop him. As Tan was showing us around, the second warning came. A heated confrontation after two guys cornered our car. A confrontation they didn't know we were filming. And that they obviously didn't want on record. The areas where these businesses operate are lawless, as even when the government orders them to shut down, they keep running.
Is it possible to have the clip?
Yobi Ying was the environment minister back then. She tried to get rid of these factories for months.
Whenever we close them, we actually cut their electricity, cut their water and all sorts, and take their workers. We continue to close our factories, but we realize when we close, their factories open again and again and again. After we have closed down more than 100, then we decided that, that's not the way forward. We should go to the port. And then we realized that, there are a lot of smuggling. They actually came in illegally. Then we decided that, we need to send a message, and this plastics that came in illegally should be sent back to the country of origin to give a message that, we are not the dumping ground.
So today, the entry point is the exit point.
First thing, we are going to CEB area. Okay, custom examination. We need to count all the safety gates.
The minister is returning containers filled with dirty plastic to their countries of origin.
We have to date sent back 150 containers coming from 13 countries, different countries around the world.
Countries including the United States, Canada, the UK and France had to take back what they never should have allowed out. Controls at the ports have been strengthened.
We have a scanner machine over there. If we have any suspicious after we saw the image, then we direct here for inspection also.
Containers are then opened and checked.
Okay, this cargo declared as a polypropylene PP, imported from Japan, and then after checking by SW Corp, we found that this cargo got the AP, approval permit.
But the checks don't really convince the woman at the helm of the plastic fight.
There is a difficulty in custom for them to ensure it's truly only clean plastic we import, because they can't open every container they coming from the overseas.
But Pua's anger is mainly directed at first world countries.
We suffer a lot from your behavior. I would like to ask the people of American, okay, is this a fair trade? Is it compared to your concept of human right? Or this is a hypocrite method that you use more than 10 years, more than 20 years. Last time to China, now to us. And Australia, and Japan, and Korea, and UK, and Germany, and French.
The plastic industry has been labelled unsustainable by environment groups for years.
Recycling alone cannot fix our global plastic pollution fast enough. Our solution should be like reductions.
But with single-use plastic on the rise again since the coronavirus pandemic broke out, there's no reduction in sight.
Globally, only 9% of plastic waste has been recycled, 12% has been incinerated, and the rest, 79%, end up in natural environment.
Or in abandoned factories where they present yet another hazard. Being set on fire.
Barangnya plastik, dia memang susah untuk padam.
It took days to put out this dump site fire that left destruction and desolation behind.
Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
At the heart of the plastic crisis, Pua has discovered another, even more dangerous enemy: electronic waste.
E-waste are going to be another big problem to our country because it creates not only plastic waste but also the heavy metals recycling problem. It starts from the e-smuggling because the e-waste totally banned in Malaysia. But how come that we saw so many these illegal dumping of the e-waste in our community? The people here, we are always threatened by this terrible toxic waste.
Another threat and another battle ahead. A battle against harmful waste that should have never ended up here.